welcome back. Today we are going to chat about how you can go from being a fashion industry outsider to feel and be a fashion industry insider. So if you want to work in the fashion industry but you're still feeling an outsider, you don't know what are the steps that you should take in order to become a fashion industry insider. In this video I'm going to share some of the things that you should know, so steps you should take, work experience, but also the mindset and some attitudes that you should start embracing if you want to get a job in the fashion industry and become a successful fashion industry professional. So let's begin. The first thing that you should do if you have decided that you want to work in the fashion industry is to identify the career that is made for you. This is going to then affect all of the other moves that you're going to make, because if you want to work as a stylist, you will do certain type of things in order to become a fashion stylist. So for example, you would start by assisting other stylists. If you want to become a fashion buyer, then you would need to start by interning at fashion department stores, luxury brands in the buying department, so buying internships in order to become a fashion buyer. So identifying the career that you want to pursue is fundamental. You have to go from saying I want to work in fashion to being specific, like I want to become the fashion editor at Vogue, I want to become a fashion marketing expert and work with fashion startups, fashion tech companies. I want to work for luxury fashion brands, I want to work with fast fashion brands. So you have to start being very specific with the career that you want to pursue. In this other video I shared what are some of the career options in the fashion industry, so you can check it out if you want to learn more about some of the careers in fashion. The second thing that you should start doing if you want to work in the industry and become a successful fashion industry professional is to educate yourself about the fashion industry. I say many times that getting a fashion degree or a master's degree is not absolutely necessary to work at the fashion industry, because many just have traditional degrees. Still, learning about fashion is important. You can do so by taking some online fashion courses, reading daily the news happening in the industry, subscribing to newsletters. Keeping up to date with what is happening in the industry is fundamental. And even if you are taking now a fashion school, a master or a degree, you should keep learning about fashion even beyond your traditional degrees. You have to really be obsessed with wanting to learn more about fashion. So this is also something that really helped me stand out in my applications when I first got into fashion, because in case you don't know about my story, I got into fashion in the e-commerce department at Alexander McQueen, and I was towards the end of my master in luxury and fashion management, and I already got the internship before the master ended. And basically what the recruiter was impressed by from my resume, which was very short, and there is this video that you can watch on how to build your fashion resume, but the thing is that she was impressed more by some online fashion courses that I had on my resume, because those demonstrated true passion and interest. So I was going beyond just my traditional degree and my traditional education. So just because I took this master in luxury and fashion management, I didn't stop there. I was very obsessed with wanting to learn more about fashion, wanting to become successful in the fashion industry, because there is a difference between wanting to work in fashion and wanting to become successful in fashion. Only a few people really become successful in fashion. There are so many people working behind the scenes in the fashion industry. So there is, of course, the difference between those who are very successful and those who work in the fashion industry is that those who are very successful is not just about talent. And this is something that I want to emphasize here in this video, is that yes, technical skills are very, very important. You need to be savvy on Microsoft Excel, you need to be excellent at sketching and these things, but also the mindset that you have, the attitudes that you have are so important as well. Because many times when I mentor my students, I find that there is something missing there, which is the right mindset to succeed. And it's important to consider that fashion companies, especially at the beginning of your career in fashion, are also going to look at your attitudes, at your mindset. If you're someone who is willing to learn more about fashion, if you're smart, if you are someone who can learn quickly, if you have the right mindset to then grow and learn within the organization. This is very important. So yes, technical skills are important, but also try to adopt the right mindset as well. Speaking of how you can educate yourself about the fashion industry, also something that you should take into into consideration is the language in this industry, because this is an international industry. So if you want to work in Italy, if you want to work in France, of course, knowing the language, the local language is important. Many times you ask me if it is necessary to know Italian or speak French if you want to work in these two countries. And the thing is that since fashion is very competitive, of course, if you know these languages, you're going to have a competitive advantage over the people who already speak a couple of languages. So it's commonly in the European countries that speak like 2 or 3 languages. So I would really encourage you to learn more than one language, especially like Italian, French, English if you want to work in the fashion industry. I'm Italian, as you can probably tell from my accent, but I've always wanted to work in an international fashion office. One part of the job interview was in English because they wanted to test my English level. Now, I am pretty fluent in English at the moment because I do it like for my job, but I didn't take like any course to become fluent. I stopped studying English in school probably when I was just in high school, so I don't have a proper education, but I was so obsessed with wanting to become like fluent in English that I started watching TV series in English, reading in English, and I remember that at the beginning it was a struggle. Like it took me hours to read a couple of pages in English of a book, but then with time this has improved, and I'm so glad that I didn't stop at the first, challenges, because it was challenging. It is hard. Fashion is a competitive industry. There are so many people out there, but really what is going to impress people is your mindset in wanting to really constantly invest in yourself, wanting to learn more about fashion or improving your skills, learning something new, because even once you're going to be inside the fashion industry, you should not stop learning new things, because you can always want to, get a new promotion or getting a new job title. So you have to still keep learning new things. Actually, successful people keep learning on a daily basis. So whether it's reading a book or like taking an online course, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, you have to incorporate like a little education section within your daily routine. Something else that I encourage you to do if you want to get a job in the fashion industry is to start thinking like a fashion industry professional already. So I really encourage you to change how you say things. So if you watch a runway show or if you're scrolling through the pages of Vogue, I really encourage you to start asking yourself why things work that way. Why there is an opening look and a closing look in a fashion show, which normally are the ones that, catches the attention of those who are watching. Why there is a certain set design, some lights, some music. Why do they work like that? When you enter into a store of your favorite fashion brand, can you notice how the things, the items, the collection is displayed? There is always a choice behind that. So it is not random, it's not casual. There is always a strategy behind them. So I really encourage you to start questioning yourself always these things, like be curious in wanting to learn how the industry works from the inside. When you scroll through the pages of Vogue, stop at the first pages when there is like the masthead with all of the editors' names and start becoming curious. Go on Google, find these people, learn more about these roles. So look closely at what is around you, because you're soon going to be a fashion expert. And it's actually this curiosity that is a very powerful drive that is going to make you successful. So whenever you see something, ask yourself why it works like that. Go on Google, read a book, learn more about things to always keep learning about fashion. Even me, I'm a fashion educator, I teach fashion. But in order for me to teach, I have to learn. And I do, even though I've been in the industry for more than a decade now, I still learn so many things every single day. So you should never stop learning. And I really encourage you to start looking at things with this new, curious, analytical eye, as if you were already a fashion insider. The other thing that you should do is to consider moving to a fashion capital. So many people ask me if you can work in fashion remotely, and the thing is that if you want to work for the top companies of the industry, you should be located next to their offices, because most of the people work in office. Since COVID, some people have started doing a little bit of remote hybrid work, but this is more something that is more hybrid than remote totally. So you still have to be at the office a couple of days per week, for example. And the majority of the people actually work in office most of the time. But this doesn't mean that you have to necessarily move to Milan, Paris, London, or New York, because these big fashion companies also have offices in other places. Think about any other big city, so not just Paris. So think about Dior, for example. Their main headquarters is in Paris, but they also have offices in New York, in Italy, in London. So you can also check if next to you there is a city where all of these your favorite fashion brands do have offices, because all of the brands have smaller offices across the world because they are international brands, so they have international teams. So perhaps there is an office next to you, closer to you, more than a fashion capital. Of course, the thing is that once you're inside a fashion capital, the vibe is completely different. So I moved from South of Italy to Milan, so now I'm based in Milan, and I can say that this is a fashion capital. Like when it's fashion week, you can feel in the city that everyone is like, you can see all of these black cabs, you can spot editors, models around the city. Of course, when you are inside a fashion capital, it's a completely different environment. You feel all of the vibe, but this doesn't mean that you necessarily need to move to a fashion capital. Still, it is a choice. So consider what are your personal preferences, your career aspirations. With me, for example, I knew that I had to move to a fashion capital because I just didn't want a job in fashion. I wanted, like I said, to be successful in the industry, work for the top companies of the industry. So I knew that I had to be where these companies are. I moved to Milan, made the decision. It is not easy. It wasn't easy. I have to leave all of my friends, family. I moved here by myself, didn't know anyone. It wasn't easy, but the best things in life are never easy. And you have to be willing to do a little bit of sacrifice if you want to be successful. The other step, of course, if you want to break into the fashion industry, is to start looking for fashion internships. So the first tip opening this video was to identify the career that is made for you, because once you have clear the career that is made for you, then your step would be, in order to pursue that career, is to start with an internship in that chosen department. So if you want to work in fashion marketing, then your step would be to find fashion marketing internships. A minimum of 6 months to 1 year of internships are necessary in order to get a full-time position. Not necessarily 6 months or 1 year in the same company. You could be doing like a 2 months internship into this other brand, and then you move with that to another internship into another brand. But consider a total of 6 months to 1 year in order to then be able to get a full-time position. It's actually easier to get a full-time job, to turn your internship into a full-time job, rather than start applying for full-time positions, because if you don't have experience, it is very unlikely that you're going to get a full-time job. So turn your internship into a full-time job, and that's how you're going to get your first job in fashion. Alright, so I really hope that this video was helpful. If you're looking to get a job in the fashion industry, check out my free webinar where I'm sharing unconventional strategies to stand out when applying for jobs in the fashion industry. Thank you so much, and bye for now.